Fireworks have been a staple of Disney parks since 1958's Fantasy in the Sky at Disneyland. So since then, fireworks have become a ubiquitous feature of most Disney parks worldwide. At Disney parks, fireworks displays and other nightly shows are referred to as nighttime spectaculars, since they often include more than just fireworks. Many of these shows act as a sort of send-off for the night, a summary of the feeling, the memories, and the adventures guests have experienced earlier that day in the park. And every park has its own unique take on what nighttime spectaculars can be and have been in the past. Castle parks around the world usually cast their respective castles as the centerpiece for these nighttime spectaculars, but lagoons have also been common places to find nighttime shows at various Disney parks. Disneyland's Rivers of America is home to Fantasmic, California Adventure's Paradise Pier, now Pixar Pier, is home to World of Color, and the Mediterranean Harbor in Tokyo Disney Sea has been home to many shows, but most recently, Believe Sea of Dreams. Epcot's main stage for nighttime spectaculars is the World Showcase Lagoon, and speaking from the year 2023, it has been home to 10 nighttime spectaculars. Now, granted, some of those 10 have evolved slightly from one to another, but right now, Epcot stands at the dawn of an uncertain future when it comes to its own nighttime spectaculars. I found myself asking what this future may hold, and as a wise narrator once said, surprisingly, the answers lie in our past. So let's explore the history and evolution of Epcot's nighttime spectaculars. Good evening and welcome to this visual concert on World Showcase Lagoon. Tonight we're pleased to present a suite in 3 movements for fountains, pyrotechnics, and coherent light. Many of history's finest composers are represented in the musical score, which is played entirely on electric synthesizers. The images in this evening's performance are abstract in design, just as music is abstract in nature. And now we invite you to set your imagination free as Epcot Center proudly presents A Rhapsody in Light and Sound. Part 1. The beginning. Epcot's first nighttime spectacular opened with the park in 1982. Le Carnaval de Lumière debuted on the World Showcase Lagoon and could be viewed from the entrance promenade to World Showcase. It featured illuminated fountains, projection screens, and of course, fireworks. The music played on electronic synthesizers featured famous classical pieces of music, including That's good enough for now. There's many more. The concept of abstract shapes set to music is very reminiscent of Fantasia's opening number for Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. I don't believe that piece ends up in any of these early shows, but it may be worthy of note that Fantasia experienced a bit of a resurgence in the 70s and early 80s with theatrical releases. So the association between Disney and sights and sounds accompanied by famous classical music certainly preceded Epcot's nighttime spectaculars. Within Epcot's first operating year, the show was reworked with a new title and some new added technology. This second show, A New World Fantasy, premiered in June 1983. The musical flow of the story was presented in 3 acts. Act 1, Celebrations on Land, Act 2, Great Parades and Pageants, and Act 3, Revelries in Pyrotechnics. A New World Fantasy was again reworked 1 year later to become Laserphonic Fantasy. The score remained the same, and projection screens that were used in the previous show were switched out for water screens. Lasers were added to the show and mounted at the Canada, Mexico, and American Adventure pavilions, but most importantly for our investigation, Laserphonic Fantasy introduced the first, but certainly not the last, globe barge to grace the waters of the World Showcase Lagoon. This globe was essentially a spherical projection bubble with the projector located inside the globe. Among the abstract imagery, there is also Epcot iconography featured at least in the Laserphonic Fantasy. I say at least because I found a video of Laserphonic Fantasy, but not the preceding shows, so I can't say for sure that the Epcot stuff appeared in the earlier shows. But Epcot characters, like Communicore's Smart 1, pavilion icons, and symbols of World Showcase countries appear toward the end of Act 1. The Epcot characters and icons will later be dropped in the next few shows. The quick evolution of Le Carnaval de Lumière, A New World Fantasy, and Laserphonic Fantasy would lay the groundwork for all of Epcot's nighttime spectaculars. Classical music, dancing water fountains, lasers, some projections, a 3-act structure, but perhaps most essentially the globe and a story of Earth. Good evening and welcome to World Showcase. Tonight we are pleased to present a visual journey, an international fantasy of music and light. We are about to embark on a sparkling abstract expedition around World Showcase. With the music as your passport, we'll discover sights and sounds from colorful ports of call. And to celebrate our journey, the countries will be united by the festive elements of water, fire, and light. And now, let your imagination be your guide as Epcot Center proudly presents Part 2, Illuminations. The next big development came in 1988, Illuminations. The title alone highlighted both the act of illuminating Epcot's night sky and the nations surrounding the World Showcase Lagoon. The classical pieces used in Act 1 of New World Fantasy and Laserphonic were reused here but were re-recorded by the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, ditching the synth for a more traditional orchestral style. With the maintaining of the classical music, you could argue that the DNA of Illuminations was actually forged in the first 3 preceding nighttime spectaculars. Beyond Act 1, the classical pieces of Act 2 were replaced by a section called the Pavilion Chase, a journey around the World Showcase through music. In my opinion, using Rhapsody in Blue to represent America is just inspired. It's such an expressive piece. It actually also shares a connection to Fantasia, but perhaps a predictive one in this case. In Fantasia 2000, Rhapsody in Blue is the basis for an animated sequence about life in New York City. The appearance of Rhapsody in Blue in both Illuminations and Fantasia 2000 no doubt stems from the piece's New York roots with composer George Gershwin, who had this to say about the piece. I heard it as a sort of musical kaleidoscope of America, of our vast melting pot, of our unduplicated national pep, of our metropolitan madness. It's a good quote. Lighted designs were also added to some of the country's pavilions. These designs of figures were mounted on bulky metal grids so they were kept out of sight throughout the day, and were only raised in preparation for the show. Illuminations went on to exist in a few different variations of itself. In 1996, Illuminations 25 debuted, with the 25 referring to the 25th anniversary of Walt Disney World. This was the first Epcot fireworks show to feature something other than classical and country-specific music. The show opened with the theme song for the 25th anniversary, It's Time to Remember the Magic, which introduced and underscored spoken greetings from representatives of World Showcase countries.
From my country, please welcome our guests of honor from Canada.
Diamo il benvenuto ai membri della nostra famiglia italiana. Veuillez accueillir nos familles françaises.
Begrüßen wir unsere Familienmitglieder aus Deutschland recht herzlich.
From the British Isles, please also welcome our family from the United Kingdom.
Var vänlig och önske våra norska gäster välkommen.
نود أن نرحب من فضلكم بضيوف الشرف من بلد المغرب.
欢迎你们来自世界各地的炎黄子孙。
日本の皆様、ようこそお越しくださいました。Acompáñenme en darles la bienvenida a nuestra familia de México.
And to all of our family members who have traveled here from around the United States, welcome.
After the intro, Act 1 presented a reimagined pavilion chase, bookended by music that I refer to as Party Party, although I'm sure it has an actual name. Yes, indeed. Party Party does have a title. The music is a calypso-inspired tune titled Mescleta. According to Wikipedia, a mescleta is a Spanish pyrotechnic event characterized by noisy, rhythmic compositions, so I guess it is fitting for fireworks. The word comes from masclet, which is a very loud firecracker. This pavilion chase was quicker, spending less time in each country and more so in the region of the country. The approximate regions appear in this order: Asian, African, South American, British, Flamenco, Eastern European, Middle Eastern, and then polka. Then, in Act 2, We've Just Begun to Dream, the opening theme for Epcot Center, took center stage with visuals of a baby, perhaps referencing Tomorrow's Child from the second iteration of Spaceship Earth, interacting with various symbols of Future World: a light bulb for imagination, dinosaurs for the energy pavilion, cars for test track, land for the land, sea creatures for the living seas. Then in Act 3, in perhaps the most controversial change of them all, a pop rendition of The Circle of Life from The Lion King, played as the grand finale of Illuminations 25. Suddenly, the conventions of Epcot Nighttime Spectaculars were out the window. Gone was the reliance on the timelessness of classical music, and in was Disney Parks music and a song featured in a Disney animated film. This show, whose predecessors had no inkling of Disney intellectual property, now had Disney written all over it. But this was an anniversary show, and anniversary shows are only guaranteed to stick around for their related anniversary, a limited time offering that serves to celebrate a moment in time rather than represent the whole thematic meaning of any given park. These shows are not designed to be permanent. Case in point, this show was reworked in May 1997, maintaining the 25th anniversary intro but returning to the classical music of previous Epcot fireworks shows. Fanfares instead of Party Party, Ode to Joy instead of The Circle of Life. These changes struck a balance between what was attempted in the first version of Illuminations 25 and prior shows that had punctuated a day at Epcot so successfully in the past. They tried something, it wasn't an overwhelming success, so they returned to form. Lesson learned. Version B of Illuminations 25 would later drop the 25th anniversary references and continue as Illuminations 98, but something big was coming, something to eclipse a meager 25th anniversary, a whole new millennium. Good evening. On behalf of Walt Disney World, the place where dreams come true, we welcome all of you to Epcot and World Showcase. We're gathered here tonight around the fire as people of all lands have gathered for thousands and thousands of years before us, to share the light and to share a story. An amazing story, as old as time itself, but still being written. And though each of us has our own individual stories to tell, a true adventure emerges when we bring them all together as one. We hope you enjoy our story tonight. Reflections of Earth. Part 3, Reflections of Earth. Illuminations 2000 debuted on October 1st, 1999, with the year 2000 approaching and the Millennium Celebration ushering in a new face of Epcot. 19 torches were added to the shores encircling the World Showcase Lagoon. An Inferno barge would engulf the night with fireballs, a new globe barge would float into the lagoon mid-show, and many technical elements were replaced or introduced to take this show to a whole new level. The globe makes quite an entrance here, and it's kind of a solo. It is, of course, accompanied by music, but its location at the center of the lagoon puts it kind of far away from guests' view. You really have to look closely to see the imagery that's displayed on the LED lights, and for a while, the globe is all you have to look at. There's no other fireworks or explosions happening around it, it's just the globe. And it's beautiful, it's colorful, it's a sphere floating through the dark, and isn't that just what our planet is? It just... As for the music, an original score invoked the story and history of Earth, from chaos to order finally to reflect in Act 3 on meaning. These new musical compositions were not the classical pieces Illuminations had featured before, but instead they were unique to Epcot, unique to this moment in time, and captured the universal story of Earth's existence and humanity's part in it. To conclude the show, a lyrical song, We Go On, added some parting words, a heartfelt reminder for guests to carry with them into the future.
To reach out and touch tomorrow, take the future in our hand. We go on to the joy and through the tears. We go on to discover new frontiers. We go on with the
Illuminations 2000, or later Illuminations Reflections of Earth, has been by far the longest-running nighttime spectacular in Epcot's history, reaching very nearly 20 years old. And 20 years is a long time. It's time enough to see a show as a child and return to later as an adult. It's time enough for people to get attached and to quash the will or imagination to picture anything taking its place. It's certainly time enough to earn the distinction of being the best, a sturdy staple of Epcot's identity, built on all that came before, and to carry hopefully on into the future. But 20 years does not mean untouchable, and in the Disney world, nothing can last forever, and eventually a new show was dreamt up to replace Illuminations' Reflections of Earth. But it was going to take a while to put that one together, so another show was dreamt up in the meantime. The dreams we dream, the hopes inside us, ignite the path we take to guide us, and hand in hand the future is unfurled, from just one spark, a whole new world. Part 4. Epcot Forever. Epcot Forever was a send-up of Epcot's auditory past, and a show that still feels a bit too good to be true for the Epcot history geeks of the world. Since Epcot Forever was only meant to last a short while and work flexibly around the construction of the new show's infrastructure, the lights and pyrotechnics were scaled back a bit, working with a combination of existing tech and new tech designed for the upcoming show. Oh, and one very fun new visual feature, kites. And not just any kites. They're beautiful light-up kites pulled around the lagoon on high-speed skidoos, simple but elegant, holding on to a very twinkling surprise for their final laps around the lagoon. The soundtrack featured quotes from Epcot's attractions and history, including Walt's iconic voice, spelling out what Epcot was intended to be.
Experimental, prototype, community of tomorrow.
I actually made a bingo card of what I thought would be included in Epcot Forever, and I was very pleased with the results. I definitely called out Walt, saying, "We call it Epcot, E-P-C-O-T." And of course, music drove the show forward in both instrumental and lyrical permutations. The songs mostly sampled from Epcot attractions, many of them defunct by 2019, and called back to ideas that had shaped Epcot's identity. Its opening in 1982,
We've just begun.
its innovations,
If we can dream it, then we can do it. Yes, we can, yes, we can.
Feel the flow, here we go, through the universe of energy.
New horizons for you and me.
Explorations Act 2,
Magic journeys, mystic flights. Tomorrow's shining a brand new way.
and Imagination Act 3.
Making memories, taking pictures is making memories.
Veggie fruit, veggie fruit.
You'll see what living can be. It's hard to
Even the Millennium Celebration was revived, if only for a moment, in Epcot Forever's penultimate act, Act 4. Act 5 made a transition from Epcot's past to Epcot's future, with new lyrics added to the Imagination song, ushering in a whole new world in both song and concept. I actually think they picked a very fitting song to drive this finale home. Of all the songs from Disney animated features to choose from, this one has lyrics that kind of coincidentally call out to Epcot attractions.
Soaring, tumbling, freewheeling through an endless diamond sky.
Add in the plea at the end, let me share this whole new world with you, and it's kind of a perfect fit. Good choice. This finale suggested that the future of Epcot will include Disney animated characters and music. It will include intellectual property, and the final lyrics implore guests and fans to let them share this whole new world with us. Epcot Forever was fun. I imagine most guests sat around slightly confused by the lyrics and melodies they were hearing throughout the show, but I know that the fans sat watching this show, connecting years of knowledge and research, and in some cases obsession, to the nighttime spectacular unfolding before them. This one was for the fans. It couldn't have been for anyone else. But of course, it was not to last. It was designed that way, and that new, more permanent nighttime spectacular lay just beyond the horizon.
They are closing Walt Disney World in Orlando and Disneyland Paris through the end of the month.
Will begin a cautious and phased reopening of its parks after being shut down for 4 months due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
There won't be any of the usual big fireworks shows or parades that encourage mass gatherings.
All around us, the world is alive with music, voices calling out in search for one another. We find each other in song. Part 5, Harmonious. So it was a bit of a rough road to get there, but in October 2021, Harmonious debuted at Epcot. 5 massive barges, 4 taco-shaped and 1 donut-shaped, were fixed permanently in the lagoon day and night. It was initially proposed that the barges would double as a fountain during the day. However, the resulting fountain effect left much to be desired when compared to the concept art. Lighting and laser technology was updated, and the effect was undeniably spectacular. The screens, lasers, fog, and lights all came together to create a vibrant, stunning visual field. The score leaned heavily on the songbook of Disney's animated feature films, but with a global twist. The lyrics were delivered in a blend of English and the related culture's language. How Far I'll Go from Moana, Go the Distance from Hercules, and Epcot's new theme wove together to introduce the concept of Harmonious and set the stage for a journey around the World Showcase. This show is a story of how we communicate, how we connect universally through music, and our desire to find belonging wherever that line where the sky meets the sea leads us. It is a story of us, but seen, or rather heard, through a Disney filter. What follows this introduction is a journey around the world, from Asia to Africa to Europe and the Americas, with selected Disney stories, but also various art styles and musical instrumentation to represent specific regions and cultures. This is actually a similar concept to earlier versions of Illuminations, but this time the journey around the world is not through just music, but also through language and art.
who you are, you find out what you need. Blue skies and sunshine. This might be a controversial opinion, but I think Harmonious understood the assignment. Sure, the barges are ugly during the day, and Epcot was not built to be based on IP, but we are in Disney World, and the people who were confused by Epcot Forever will not be confused by seeing and hearing Coco after they've visited the Mexico Pavilion and found Coco merch inside. Now, if only there was a Coco boat ride in the pavilion, as well as, or instead of, the Three Caballeros. But wait!
Saludos, amigos, a new day's waiting to start.
Moving on, the final act of Harmonious does something similar to Reflections of Earth. It shifts the tone from celebration to reflection, but instead of bringing us an original song, we hear Someday from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. An odd choice, perhaps. In fact, it always struck me as a bit of a weak ending, because this song, written for a specific movie as the scrapped alternate to God Help the Outcasts, was not designed to sum up the meaning of this show. Sure, it has a hopeful wish for us to embrace as we walk away with when the show ends, but really, you could have played We Go On from Illuminations 2000 in its place and got the same desired effect. So then why this song? I do have one hunch, and it's this line. What did we do with Illumination's wish for the new millennium? Because according to Harmonious's final declaration, we didn't necessarily take the future in our hands. The bright millennium is still on its way to us. Someday. I don't know. I have a feeling that that one word, millennium, was meant to be a sort of connecting tissue between a notable moment in Epcot's past and its future, but this wish for us, this last parting song and words, it just doesn't fit right. It feels a bit hollow, as if there's hope, but Harmonious doesn't believe it's anywhere in reach. It's maybe someday out there in the future, but not soon necessarily. I don't know.
We've debuted 2 new nighttime spectaculars. We have Disney Enchantment at Magic Kingdom. Yeah, and we have Harmonious at Epcot. Well, both of them have been tremendous additions. And if you haven't seen them already, you definitely don't want to miss them.
At the D23 Expo in 2022, it was illuminated that Harmonious was a 50th anniversary show, and likewise would be ending with the 50th anniversary in April 2023. When Harmonious was announced as the replacement for Illumination's Reflections of Earth way back at another D23 Expo in 2019, it was not pitched as Epcot's 50th anniversary show.
A grand project worthy of our ambitious plans for Epcot.
It seems that opposite to Illuminations 25, which was designed to be short-term and was adjusted to last past its expiration date, Harmonious has been doomed to a short-lived moment in time. It wasn't designed for this fate, but it has it all the same. I'm gonna be honest, this makes me a bit sad. Speaking from March 2023 and unable to see what the future holds for Epcot's next 10 nighttime spectaculars, other than the fact that the barges are going away, Epcot Forever is coming back. What a world! And another temporary show for the Walt Disney Company's 100th anniversary is slated to follow. I am back to wondering what could ever replace Illumination's Reflections of Earth. And now, what could ever replace Harmonious? I believe that Harmonious was the best of both worlds, equal parts Disney and Epcot. It was thoughtful, it was artful, it made me want to dance, and what more can you ask for? It maybe could have featured an original song to tie it all together at the end in a more decided way and had less obtrusive barges and maybe had better viewing locations around the lagoon rather than 1 or 2 spots only, but maybe this isn't the last of Harmonious. If the answers do lie in our past, then so do 5 different versions of Illuminations. They changed gradually one to the next,
They were built on a tried and true foundation and tried some things. They largely succeeded in capturing the feeling of Epcot, and they led to Reflections of Earth, which left 20-year-old shoes to fill. Illuminations evolved, not just once, but many times over. What if a better Harmonious awaits us all in the future? Thank you for watching and or listening to this video essay. So now I'd like to hear from you. What is your favorite Epcot nighttime spectacular, and what are your hopes for the future, maybe? That's all I've got, so for now, this is Ms. Morrow signing off, and I'll see you in the future.